Short of that, like I said, contacting the captain and seeing where they're at on this thing, and I apologize, I have no idea where the officers are tonight. We almost always have
They were invited.
someone here from the police, and, you know,
I talked to a police officer just a couple of days ago. They're aware of these break-ins. They've got over 40 break-ins in Tower Grove South in the past month and a half. And they have a special squad of 6 officers on extra patrol through the area. And they're very eager to catch these guys because they've had to pull these officers from other areas and chart those areas. They are looking for a black car 2-door. Now, 2-doors are kind of unusual anymore, but a 2-door black car with anywhere from 3 to 4 people in it, a black fellow with dreadlocks, about 6 foot tall and thin, and there might even be a girl or 2 with him.
I think he was arrested.
Huh?
Do you remember he was arrested?
Saturday.
Yeah.
Someone had been.
They took a couple out of a house down from our block, on our street, on 3949 Fairview, a nuisance property.
Oh.
They hauled a couple out of there, and then when we were coming down Roger, about an hour later, they had 2 more guys sitting on the curb, and 2 of the cop cars had them over there, and one had dreadlocks. But that's what they were looking for, and they are aware it's going on, and they have assigned extra police over here.
all right, so do we know, now this happened Saturday, this is Monday. So you had anything happen between Saturday night and tonight?
Had a guy right at Oak Hill and Chippewa.
All right.
Right there, not
Mugging.
along with that, but we don't know about the robbery.
The mugging is probably different.
Yeah, one
Yeah,
is
there was.
posted on the listserv today.
They locked the dog in the basement.
Well,
4100
at Juniata, right?
a burglar like this,
They locked the dogs in the basement.
it could be that besides the 4, there's more
Right.
running around that they haven't picked up, but short of giving you what tips I can on securing your home, I don't have the facts from the police department. I'll get this young lady here and then this gentleman.
The next door neighbor to me on 4200 block of Wyoming, they had last Tuesday an attempted break-in. The police came over after for about an hour and a half trying to get fingerprints and stuff, and they've been like coming back solid. But they knocked at his front door. He didn't pay any attention to it. The burglar knocked at his front door, and he was on his computer, and he figured it was a salesperson. He didn't pay any attention to it. And a few minutes later, the same person was trying to come in his back door, and he heard them jiggling at the back door and shaking it, and he ran and he yelled, hey, what do you, and they took off running, and it was a tall black guy with dreadlocks.
Okay.
And so the police have been, actually, the police came around today, and I was wondering if this was legitimate. It was a policeman in the next door yard, and I looked out and I saw him, and I said, what's going on now? It was the opposite neighbor, and I wanted to know if something was going on, and he said, no, he was just checking. But then I looked out front, and there was no police car or anything.
He
So-
might have been parked around the other side.
I hope
of the
so,
street.
because I thought, I was worried it was.
I had the same thing. I had a police officer in my backyard on Friday, and I said, is there something going on? I didn't realize, I just happened to look out, and there he is standing in my backyard, and he said, well, he wanted to know who the owner next door was, but, there were some suspicious characters on her front porch, which turned out not to be, but, it was just, they are cruising.
I guess they
They
really
really
are,
are.
because they
If you-
came back, they spent an hour and a half next door, and then they came back after that the next minute.
From personal experience, I know that when they do these details, they do have guys out. We had, this is some years ago, a rash of kids or people stealing stuff off the front porches and running down the gangways to the alley to get in a car and take off with, lawn chairs and whatever. And I happened to hear them because I'm kind of a late night person. I heard my back gates go. So I had more spotlight. I had the phone. I'm calling 911, and I walked out came out the front door to my driveway. I had two detectives in an unmarked car flying into my driveway behind me with their guns drawn. And so I know they'll respond quickly. The point being, if you see anybody who you remotely think is suspicious, call 911. Okay? When they're running these details, those calls get more priority than they do ordinarily. Okay? Because those guys aren't answering the other calls, and they'll hear it come out, and they'll get there. So that's very important. This gentleman had a question.
I was just going to say, I think we're all preaching to the choir here because we're all here, we all know what's going on. It's a lot of people out there that, quite frankly, aren't thinking. I just ran to Schnucks for 5 minutes. We'll lock the door. I don't understand why people are not locking their doors. We put an air conditioning unit in, we have brackets that we bolted into the frame. You can't open the window.
Right.
Motion lights work. We have motion lights everywhere. They've tried to break into our garage twice. They've taken $1,500 worth of tools on a house that we're working on, so we are locked down. And I don't really have much sympathy for people who leave their windows unlocked or don't answer the door. I mean, you live in the city, people. I don't understand that. Motion lights work.
And that's not just the city. You don't hear about it maybe as much because
It happens out in the
yeah, if Channel 2, 4, or 5 would move out to West County, we hear a lot more crime out there. The fact is, they're a lot closer here. They don't have to go very far to get the
You
news.
leave the TV on, and
And-
you leave the radio on, and just so that they know or think that someone's in the house, and we've never had anybody actually break into the house.
It is rare, but if you get these professional group like this who aren't afraid, of a first degree burglary conviction, that makes it a little scarier.
Do people, a majority of them been that?
Uh,
Does anybody know?
I don't have the statistics. If we had the public affairs officer, we'd know. I think the ones that are bringing people out probably are, but of the 40 or so in the neighborhood, I would statistically guess a half dozen of those were first degree, and everything else is when somebody's not home. More like the guy who had his door rattled in the back because they thought he wasn't home.
I would have to say somebody had posted something about stay out on your front porch. Don't, hang out there. Watch people as they're walking by. Stare them down. Let them know you're there. And we've really started doing that aggressively. I mean, we did it before, but now we sit out there. When people come up and they see our dogs look really ferocious. And they start barking, and I let them know. I wouldn't pet them if I was you, even though they're not going to do anything. But I think it's important for us to all stay out on our front porch, stare at people, let them know you're watching.
It is incredibly important to know the people on your block, okay, and to talk to them and to know what car they drive. Just seeing cars that don't belong or seeing people walking. I've called I feel like an old curmudgeon sometimes, but I've called on kids walking down the street who I just thought didn't have the right look to them. Do I call on every kid? No. But there are some times you can kind of tell that this kid's doing something that doesn't look right. They're looking in cars or kind of running up on people's lawns. That's a little different than some kid moseying down the street or the sidewalk. And I'm not afraid to call the police, and you can't be afraid either. And if you think that the police are going to come to your door and harass you, just tell them you don't want them coming to your house. Here's a callback number. And it's important to give them a callback number because in normal times, you call for a suspicious person, it might take them 30 minutes to respond. So when the officer's on his way, he's going to call and say, is that person still there? You could say no, but they were wearing this and they turned left on at the corner. And now he's at least got, okay, they're north or south or east or